When you write a review of a video game, or any product, it's generally accepted that you'll keep your own overall opinion close to your chest for as long as possible. If you opened a 5-minute review video, for example, with the phrase, "I think insert product here is bad, don't bother," you would assuredly get your point across, but you'd also render the remaining 4 minutes and 56 seconds of your video pretty inert, except for those who wanted more than the too long didn't read version. But there is nothing wrong with heavily implying what you think of something early on, as this can serve to whet the appetite of your audience. With that in mind, I think it's worth mentioning that when I came to write the script for the review of today's game, which I have been playing constantly and more importantly exclusively for the last 7 days, I went to write the title of the game and had no idea what it was. That was the amount of an impression that the Ascent from Neon Giant left on my memory. Set in a cyberpunk future world, The Ascent is an action shooter RPG in which you play an unnamed worker, or indent, who works for the Ascent Group Company, a mega corporation who owns your home, your contract, and literally you. So when the inevitable happens and the company goes bust, you are left not only in a power vacuum, but with your entire way of life threatened. A situation that you and your pit boss, Poon, which I'm sure is a reference to something but I couldn't possibly say what, are going to sort out by shooting a lot of mostly sentient life forms. As a premise, it's not the worst, but there was something bugging me very early on. It started at the character creation screen. All fairly standard and well put together, a decent amount of options and customisations, albeit with the distinct whiff of "there's plenty more to discover through the game if you play it enough" coming off it. No class choice or chance to name your character, but you're already told that you are a generic ground pounder, so this can be forgiven if you're going for the faceless worker bee thing. Then you find yourself going through a series of fairly simple go here, shoot things missions involving a lot of action-packed gunfights in well-designed, if dark and samey, industrial environments. The combat system is alright once you get used to it. It's a little unintuitive, but then I find all isometric shooters unintuitive because the best way of aiming a gun is down the sight, and looking down from the sky at a 30-degree angle doesn't naturally lend itself to easy aiming. The environments you find yourself in are accompanied by a good soundscape that helps cement the genuinely staggering amount of depth and atmosphere that Neon Giant have managed to put into this world. The progression in the Ascent is slow, especially since it's a fully open world that you can travel around pretty much as you please, but to very little tangible benefit. The press pack that was sent with the game told me it was a 10 to 15 hour game if you just focused on the main missions, and up to 20 if you did the side quests, but I would have to be honest and say I don't know why there are any extra quests. You can plough through the main missions and pick up enough XP to keep your levels at the recommended minimum, and if you die you keep all the XP you've gained up to that point, roguelike style, so you can keep shooting the stuff that killed you until you get good enough to beat them. Every time you level up, you are given a number of action points that you can put into health, damage, speed, stamina, etc, etc, and you're constantly returning to the menu to make absolutely certain that you are using the weapons and armour with the right numbers, which ticks a number of RPG boxes. And yet, there was still something nagging at me. However many ferals or aliens I shot, something wasn't sitting right about this game, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Then, after one particular mission, it dawned on me. The mission in question was to go and clear out an area so that the remaining pit bosses and faction leaders could get together and have a big chat. This had apparently never been done before, and in these times of turmoil it was a very big deal, a world-changing deal, so I was genuinely looking forward to an in-depth negotiation unfolding before me. So I went and cleared out all of the enemies and a number of bosses and sub-bosses, and Poon gave me the call that everything was good and the meeting could take place. Then this happened.
Raging success. The other bosses are on board. We'll begin coordinating our cluster SIs and redistributing vital supplies in a few hours.
Yep. No meeting, no context, no plot, just, that went well, let's get on with stuff, shall we? The story sounded genuinely interesting and I wanted to be invested, but it wasn't happening to me or even because of me, rather happening in spite of me. The Ascent calls itself an RPG, but despite the character creation and the XP points, you aren't actually playing a role. There is no agency for the player in the game at all. You are told where to go, what to do and who to kill, but you have no real options in how you achieve that. Sneaking is not a thing, despite the ability to crouch. Once you gently squeeze your trigger, you are spotted by pretty much everyone, and then it quickly degenerates into standard shooty bang bang gameplay. There is cover-based shooting to relieve the monotony, but no matter how much the game tells you that cover can be the difference between life and death, my standard shooty bang bang tactic of running forward firing my ordnance, and if anyone gets in the way it's their own fault, seems to work pretty well. On top of all this, there is clearly a deep and well fleshed out backdrop and lore holding up this game, but because the only interaction you have with anyone is being told where to go and what to kill next, much of the background and contextual information is given to you through a codex. I don't want to read codexes. I want to be shown and told about this world. I want to be immersed in it. If I wanted to read about it, I'd just go to the Wikipedia page. The final straw for me was a mission about halfway through where I was busy killing random NPCs and was about to start a particularly epic looking boss fight, only to be stopped by a cutscene in which a previously unknown corporate pit boss launched in, killed the monster, told me they had an offer for me if I wanted to meet them, then left. Ignoring my annoyance at having an action shooter sequence taken away from me, which is an odd choice for an action shooter game, I went along to meet them wondering if I finally had a choice to make. Do I stay with Poon, the guy who supported me so well thus far? At the start of the game he gives you 12 grand to buy some gear, which I had basically lived off from that point, or decide to nail my colours to a new mast. So, I went, listened to their offer, and was sent to do a new mission. No choices, no questions, just you work for us now, go kill some more stuff. And for the first time in my Invicta career, I threw my controller down and said, sod this. If this game had sold itself and been made as a first-person shooter or even a rail shooter, it could have been an entertaining distraction about a fairly standard cyberpunk world. But because Neon Games went for the action shooter RPG route, then I'm going to have to be harsh. There is nothing keeping the player interested aside from killing stuff, which is fine if you're not an RPG. A poorly told, more implied story, badly written if well delivered dialogue, very basic baby's first RPG elements, and a rather heavy lean towards roguelite mechanics makes this a poor showing and one I frankly cannot recommend. 3 out of 10. I've been Chris for Invicta Magazine, and thank you for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, please do give this video a like and a share. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and keep up with all our latest content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, plus we stream regularly on Twitch, and you can find all those links in the description below along with our website. See you next time. Goodbye for now.